So today we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if Germany and France go to war in 2024. Now this is a very unlikely event to happen as both these countries are part of NATO and the EU, but all alliances are going to be disbanded. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. We can see that both these countries are recruiting troops from all over the country, and it seems like they are ready for their invasion. At first though, we can see that the French troops are now pushing into Germany and they're securing all of the Bavarian regions, but this is because the Germans have not completely militarized their country. So yeah, we can see that the French troops are now pushing in a very good manner, and the French are trying to encircle all of the Bavarian regions from Germany. They almost do encircle all of the Bavarian regions, but a German army arrives on the front lines, thus pushing the French back, but not all the way to their borders. Eventually, we can see that the French troops are still present in the southern parts of Germany. After some months, we can see that this stalemate is broken as more and more German troops arrive on the front lines, and they start pushing back the French, and the French are now pushed back all the way to their borders. After pushing them back, we can see that the Germans are now pushing into Alsace-Lorraine. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but now once again the Germans are stalemated because the French are heavily defending all of this region. But Germany does not have to worry, and they're going to be doing the same thing which they did back in World War I, but this time instead of invading Belgium, they only want military access from Belgium. Belgium had no other choice but to accept this ultimatum, and now the German army is crossing Belgium and they start invading France from the northern parts, and France was pretty much not expecting this invasion. And now we can see that the German troops have gotten dangerously close to Paris, but now we can see that the French troops take out their army from Alsace-Lorraine, and this French army now arrives on the front lines. They were able to push the Germans back, but once again the Germans are not pushed back all the way to their borders, or maybe the Belgian borders. But yeah, this is what the war looks like right now. But at the same time, I should mention the fact that the great German economy is now on the decline because they're spending a lot of money on their military. But yeah, because the French took out their army from Alsace-Lorraine, we can see that the Germans further push in, and they do manage to connect with the troops in Belgium or on the border with Belgium, and this is what the front lines look like right now. But now we can see that the French are recruiting troops once again from all over the country. At the same time, they're also producing tanks, artilleries, etc. And this new French army arrives on the front lines and they immediately start pushing back the Germans, and the Germans are now pushed back once again to Alsace-Lorraine. But the French also take Alsace-Lorraine and they start their own push into Germany. This time once again we can see that the French army is aiming to encircle the Bavarian regions, and this time they are met with success. And now we can see that the Bavarian regions of Germany are getting devastated by the French army, but they still do not surrender. We can see that the French army is now pushing towards Berlin in hopes of getting to the German capital city. But now Germany takes this war very seriously and they recruit the largest army that they have ever seen, numbering at around 800,000 troops. This army immediately pushes back the French, and the Germans are now trying to relieve Bavaria. The Germans were able to encircle a lot of French troops right here, who then go ahead and surrender, and this new German army is pushing back the French once again. Eventually, once again, we can see that the French are pushed back all the way to their borders, and the Germans retake Alsace-Lorraine. But now we're going to see a very interesting event happening, and this event was kept a secret from everybody. So yeah, well, basically the Germans were at the same time building their navy when they were at war with France, and this navy is actually pretty good. We can see that the German navy takes out their fleet, and this navy now has arrived on the coast of Brittany as well as Normandy. We can see that the Germans now make a naval landing, taking out all of Brittany. They make another landing in Normandy. These troops ultimately meet up, and now things are not looking good for France as they're fighting a two-front war. We can see that the French take out their army from Alsace-Lorraine, and these troops are now on their way to push back the Germans, who took all of the northern coastline, and now they're pushing towards Paris, who is looking very vulnerable this time. But a good news for the French, their army once again was able to get to Paris in the right time. They pushed back the Germans, but the Germans still have control of the coastline. Now because once again the French took out their army from Alsace-Lorraine, we can see that the Germans are now pushing into France furthermore, ultimately meeting up with these troops. We can see that the Germans make another landing down in the south, and this army is also aiming to take all of the coastline over here. They're met with success because now most of the French army is in Paris, and because of this we can see that the Germans are now pushing further into France, who is really not looking good. On the eastern front line we can see that the Germans are now pushing down, trying to get to the southern coastline. They successfully get to the southern coastline and they eventually take it, and now France is disconnected from the outside world. But now ultimately one German army gets to captured Paris and they besieged the capital city. But yeah, now let's get to the War of Paris. We can see that the Germans have now encircled all of Paris. The French do get out of their city, but the Germans defeat this army, and now the Germans are trying to get in. They do so successfully, and now the French capital city is under the German control. And with the surrender of Paris, we can see that the remaining parts of France just go ahead and surrender. And in a peace treaty, we can see that all of the eastern parts of France were completely annexed, some parts of Normandy, all of Brittany, and this southwestern part. With that, we can see that the Germans also took Corsica, and the remaining country of France is now a vassal state. I don't know how accurate this was, but yeah, this is gonna be it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you for watching.